Hello, this is Linda Vetris Nichols, evolutionaryhealer.com, and I have with me the most amazing person, Anna Gonzales. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. You have a fantastic story of transformation where you were helping everybody except, you came last, if you came at all, right?
Oh, definitely. I definitely grew up in that kind of in that role, being Hispanic, being a woman, being in in the military. Everything I had lived up to this point where I had this transformation was about being second or being last in my life, and so yeah, it was quite a push to change that.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. And then a book came out of it, Selfishly Second. How cool is that?
I know it was really it was the biggest jump of my transformation to actually write the book, and because there's nobody's name on that but mine, so it's first all the way.
I love it. I love it. Well, you have some teaching for us today, so why don't you just tell a little bit more because you even helped like with your father before he died too. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, at that time I was when I started recognizing his illness, I was in the army. I also had was in Georgia and he was in California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had to when I started recognizing his writing, he was getting Alzheimer's, dementia,
Mm.
and a lot of the family was in denial about it. Um, so I had to go to my commander one day and pretty much almost threaten or tattle on myself that I was going to go AWOL to take care of him. And
Oh, wow.
I gave him the address and I told him you can sign my leave form or you can have the MPs come and get me at this address. I'm going to go take care of my father.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it went over. um, he gave me a week. I had a week to get things in control and have my father taken care of. So that was that was a lot to put on hold. I mean, that was actually getting. I was on my third year, fourth year in the military. I was getting ready to start a career in drug interdiction down in South America. I'd actually been recruited by a commander down in South America
Oh,
who,
wow.
yeah, she handpicked me to go and help and be part of her group.
Wow.
Uh, I had to inform her that I was not going to do that.
Mm. Yeah.
So that was a career. Was a career I put aside to take care of my dad and
Wow.
put my side to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Big time wake up call for you, wasn't it? You are now helping veterans in transition.
Yeah, I'm finding out right now with downsizing. I'm actually living in Sierra Vista, Arizona. We have a fort, an army fort down here. It's Fort Huachuca, and with the downsizing in the military that's coming around and talking, I'm meeting so many veterans that are having trouble or choosing what's next. And not only that, but feeling as if they're outsiders in the civilian world.
Right. Yeah, that herein lies the problem, right? With veteran
Right.
transition, you just don't have the same environment and people aren't going to follow orders in the civilian world. So
And a lot of them are lost because they don't have a first sergeant or someone in command suggesting what's next. You know, there's no checklist anymore. Once you out process, there's no more checklist to help you figure out what it is you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the importance of having a coach. So, that's so awesome that you're doing that and coaching in that world. So, here we go. All right. So, the number one thing that you're going to be talking about is being prepared. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, and this is something I did. I'll just say I did half arsh. Um, I I when I was in, I didn't have anybody telling me what to do or what I should look forward to. Um, so now, lessons learned. I refer veterans to look at your GI Bill. If you're going to go to school, how you're going to go to school, the accreditation of schools, healthcare afterwards for not only for themselves, if there's a family and dependents, that's important. To really kind of look at the things they took for granted that you got from the military, the 3 meals a day, you got clothes, housing, that kind of stuff. It throws veterans off a little bit, especially if they're female and they have dependents in the family. It can really bring worry and anxiety
Right.
after your EMS day. Once you get out, it's something I don't know enough veterans actually think of. They just
Right.
take for
Yep. It's just like electricity. We don't even notice it or think about it until we don't have it, right?
right.
Yeah.
So I recommend that I always the ones the my clients that I talk to now and I coach, it's like where we do that. It's like let's start early before you get your ETS date. Let's talk about let's talk about it. How are you going to get it? Where can you find other resources? And let's communicate. I give them an opportunity to speak freely, and as we know, most veterans have their own language sometimes, acronyms and colorful language. So we start early and I let them speak freely, and we just hash it out, and that is such a growth for them, and it helps them realize before they have to hang up their hat. Um, Put it down on paper, get a plan. It's something they're used to doing for others and for a group. It's got to internalize it and make themselves the center of that plan.
Yeah,
So
and for so long they've certainly not been the center of anything.
right, right, and that's
Yeah.
that's a big that's a big part of the preparation.
Okay.
To you're going to have to depend on yourself, and you got this. You have the skills already. Let me show you that path and where those are, and that you have the internal strength and the internal skills to get this done.
Yeah, right. And how about once they get out? How does the communication change?
Learning to not say everything in acronyms is one big difference. And also body language helps. It's not always arms crossed and that kind of things. And learning to soften their tones and maybe soften their approach and still be authentic and what they say and how they say and communicating their needs. And now they'll have to. It's that's those are the big things right there for me.
Okay. Very cool. All right. And listen to yourself. So, what do you mean when you say develop trust?
This one is developing trust now that they're the charge of their own life, the NCOIC of their own life, or the OIC. Now they're in charge of their life and not having. They're going to have to make those decisions themselves. And so trusting and showing them that they have the skills, they have the knowledge, they have background to develop that and make those decisions without referring to a first sergeant or somebody else like that in command. They're in charge. They can make the right decisions. They have the skills. They have the knowledge, and to start speaking out and making decisions. Sometimes indecision, as I think we know this one, indecision is almost self abuse, right? And so you have to trust yourself to make a decision, and things will move forward for you in a decision.
Yep, absolutely. And to make a decision, it's about clarity. And so, you said, I think you said about what would they want or what would make them happy. And I remember a coach asking me, well, what would make you happy? And I'm like, you know, and I was like, okay, let me think. Well, I know what wouldn't make me happy,
Right.
so I worked from that place. So, um, that was very helpful.
Right. Right. And so, and then that clarity, building that trust brings that clarity, because then they're moving, then they can move on to, as you see, they can take action on that, because they know their decisions, or they trust their decisions, so they can trust it so much to take action with it. And then
Hmm.
also trust others to reach out, right, and ask for help. This is something that is, it's always been a challenge for military, to reaching out to ask for help. Um, and once you develop the trust, we can go into action, because now we have a decision that we're confident in to take the action and move forward with on that. And then also what we can do, with the action, because soldiers are all about action. They like to know what to do, when to do it, and that's where the trust comes. They can come up with that decision for what to do next. And also and with that, they can also see where they might need to reach out. And I want them to trust, to learn how to trust that insight, that inclination to go, when they do maybe get a little stuck, they can reach out and find somebody to help them with it. There's so much culture, mores in the military, that you got to do it yourself. If you can't be the weak link. And in the civilian world, that's not necessarily the philosophy that they have. They actually, reaching out is more considered more of a strength, and relying on somebody, another expert that who's done it, has that experience. It's actually encouraged. My experience, it's actually encouraged to go out and find help and the expert in it, and that's something veterans. I'm just my experience and who I talk to when I talk to them, that is not something they're accustomed to. Yeah, and even I had that. It took me a long time to ask for help and to know when, um, and to know, have the discernment to choose who.
Right.
I right, and that's another muscle to say to they need to bring up. I made some mistakes on that one. So it's just recognizing how that happened and changed for me. So that was something I really considered often.
Right. And when you say that was really, you made some mistakes in that area, do you have any examples?
Yeah. Even with, I was so stubborn sometimes, even with taking care of my dad, to ask for help. It took me a year and a half to actually uh, look up a local Alzheimer's group, support group, and ask to show up and ask for help. And I tell you, the reason I didn't do it, because I was of my pride and ego. Heck, I was in the Army. I could take care of people. I could take care of my dad. But he had challenges that I couldn't handle, and darn, my pride kept me from getting him the help and myself the help we needed to make uh, things less stressful for us.
Wow.
And
That's
once I
big.
reached out, oh, it was such a weight lift off my shoulders there, and finding people who had experience, and oh, well, they had it all there. I mean, I had been suffering for months, and in less than 20 minutes, these people took me in. They gave me new phone numbers or another group to reach out and talk to. It was amazing.
Wow. Yeah, we just don't always stop and think. And people, even with money, people don't run out of money, they run out of ideas. We learned that one too, didn't we?
R- Right, right, and that is another example. Uh, I just didn't have money. I was broke, but I didn't know how to have my money, keep it safe, or where to keep it. Um, I wasn't getting regular paychecks. That's a big, you know, when you're in the
Eye
military,
opener.
the first, yes, when you're in the military, the 1st and the 15th are very important days, and you know them. And you know, when you go into the civilian world, that's not always, those dates don't always hold true, right? So and you have to go out there and perform and all that stuff. So reaching out, understanding, and even going back to that, prepping early,
Right.
and going that. Ooh, man, these two slides so far, big hurdles for me to overcome, and hurdles that I want to, make them a little smaller for my clients that I help coach and other veterans. These are things, and they're not talked about, but there's daily life things.
Right.
They're part of keeping soldiers or veterans safe
Mhm.
to
Right.
do that, and it keeps them from becoming the victims later on in life and having to overcome even, you know, sliding back even further. Now they can get out of the military, maintain, and start moving forward instead
Yeah,
of having to
absolutely.
take the 3 steps back to get 1 step forward. So
Yeah.
those are one of my goals to help veterans with.
That's wonderful, and it's so cool that you wrote your book, Selfishly Second, because you've got some great tips in there as well, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually wrote into about the challenges with money, the challenges with health, my health. Oh my God, I went from 140 to 225 after,
Wow.
yeah. So and I was only, at the time I was only 28, and still take care of my dad. So that was you talk about stress, right?
Right.
You wear it. I was wearing it. I mean, literally carrying
Mm.
it with me everywhere.
Yeah.
So I talk about money. I have a chapter on money. I have a chapter on health,
Oh,
your
good.
relationships with family, um, career, and emotions. There's another chapter, getting reconnected with your emotions again.
Yeah.
Eh, and you can express them, and learning how to express them in a way that you can communicate what's really going on
Yeah.
and communicate what you need.
Yeah.
You just don't want to ask for help to ask for help. You want
Right.
help that's going to give you a leg up.
Mhm.
I think that's what veterans are really truly looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now here we go. You were just talking about it, kind of, the whole weight thing. And so it's time to heal, time to lose the weight, whatever it is that, happened. It's time to like turn it around. Right, Anna?
Right, right. It's time to turn it around, and this is where a lot of my clients and fellow veterans, they get, first is this, there's an awkward silence when we talk about it's time to heal, because first of all, you have to recognize there might be something wrong.
Yeah.
Or something that needs improvement, right?
Yes.
And this is a personal thing for veterans, that they have a challenge and it goes into asking for help, and the right kind of help. And it
Hmm.
starts with themselves and going, okay, let me be that trust. Once we get some of that trust in there, now we can be authentic and go,
Hmm.
okay, this
Nice.
is what's really this is what's really keeping me up at night, or this is what triggers me into that screaming fit and turning everybody away from me.
Right.
We start getting into that kind of, in that realm, and it can be pretty hard. It's going to be hard. it can be really hard. I know I did a lot of ugly cries and
Mm.
just stomping out of the rooms uh, over the years, and getting those into, and I would say control, but into a better expression, better communication really, really helped me. So that way, again, we're going to tie back into that trust, and here we go, making decisions.
Right,
Now I could trust my decisions because now I was authentic with my communication and my emotions.
right, yeah.
So,
It's almost
yeah,
like what you say to little kids, use your words.
right.
You know?
Well, yeah, because our words when you're a veteran in uniform, it's acronyms, and they're, you know, we use the acronym BLUF, bottom line up front. And that's how we talk, bottom line up front. And when you're in the military, we cut to the chase.
Yeah.
There it is, here for you. Nothing more to say, nothing more, nothing less. That's all you need. And so when you're in the civilian world,
I
that
know.
doesn't make them comfortable. I want
Right.
more. I want to engage, and I want to engage longer. And that was hard because,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I just told you exactly.
Yeah.
So, and they're not in the habit of it. It's not anybody's fault. It's just your environment has changed, and so
Right.
the civilian environment requires more engagement, requires more expression and communication and coming to agreements.
Mhm.
Um, and the military is all about expectations, and there's no agreement. We told you what to do. This is the expectation. There it is. And in the
Yeah.
civilian world, like, you run into that. Well, that's not what I expected, and then the other person has. No, that's not what I expected. You have to come to an agreement in the civilian world. That's
Right.
not. It's it's a two-person decision most of the time, and so
Right.
coming into an internal decision and being authentic and being
Yep.
able to express that helps the other person come
Right.
into an agreement with the veteran, right?
Yeah,
And vice
and
versa.
it's a developmental skill, and it's your thoughts, my thoughts, your thoughts go in the center, my thoughts go in the center, and then there's the discussion so that we can create our thoughts, right?
Right,
And you can
right,
agree to disagree, but it's like no blame, no shame. It's just out there in the middle, up for discussion. And then I again get to put in my thoughts, and you again get to put in your thoughts, or vice versa, based on our thought that kind of that came up, so, or our thoughts. It's really an interesting exercise, but it's actually a developmental skill, and when I incorporated that into my marriage, a lot of things shifted for the positive, and I am living with a veteran.
well, and yeah, this changes relationships. I've had a few clients that are like, wow, I can talk now without throwing things across the room. And he or she doesn't have to duck anymore. When we can
Yeah.
actually sit down and go, hey, I want to make a decision on this. I want to include you on it. So
Yeah.
let's go back and forth and get to that agreement. And
Yeah.
we can do it authentically because they've
Hmm.
practiced it. They're prepared. They moved on to this. Now I can move on to healing, and that's part of the healing, because you wanted people in their relationships with veterans. Those around us want us to be. They want us to heal. They want to support us so much. We just
Yeah.
gotta. Veterans have got to learn to allow that to happen and be communicative with that.
Hmm.
This is how I could use your support,
Hmm.
and who I'm going to go to get that support to with.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and that goes into that building that respect for
Hmm.
themselves.
Right.
And that's where the big healing starts to really kick in.
Hmm. Yeah, and part of that even is asking for forgiveness. So you do throw something because you're just the whole communication thing just isn't quite there yet or whatever. You can say I'm sorry, or will you please forgive me or whatever, because that kind of helps to retrain the brain, like, okay, so I don't want to be apologizing for the rest of my life. So
Right.
I
I
get to
got really
rethink
good at
this.
apologizing. It was almost to the point where no one even wanted to hear it anymore
Well, I
because it was,
suppose. And I remember my mom with my brother, he kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It was always, I'm sorry. And she goes, if you're sorry, you won't do it again. And it was like,
right.
oh,
Yeah.
good point. Good point. All right, let's move
Say it
on.
with your actions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a review, it's about being prepared, listening to yourself, and taking time to heal. So what would you like to say to kind of sum this up for everybody, Anna?
I would like to say that in being prepared, the soldiers really kind of sit down and come to the realization that there's going to be a day where they're not going to have to shine their boots and get in uniform again, and they're going to instead put on maybe a suit or some civvies and actually go to a job, or that they can create themselves, or they can join a corporation or whatever it is they want to do, and that they kind of from there and work backwards to that point and prepare for that new start line for themselves.
Right.
And
And your
right.
coaching, yeah, your coaching can help them with that too if they're thinking of becoming an
Absolutely
entrepreneur. Yeah,
right.
I
it
love it.
they, they I think more veterans should be starting their own businesses, and that's where that trust comes in. Trust themselves. They've got what it takes. Oh my God, more. Oh, they're so underestimating themselves.
Yeah,
So that's something to be prepared. And preparation takes away that underestimation, right?
right.
So, and then listening, and through that, they can listen to themselves and really start to dig into what they got it inside there. They just got to pull it out of themselves a little more, and someone show them to guide and point it out to them. It's where I like to do, and that's a fun discovery session. That is so much fun because they go, oh, I did that. I can do that. Is that realization in their heads, and
Yeah, that
that
permission almost, right?
right. It's
Yeah.
so much fun because they just light up and you can see that gaze. They go there and it's oh
Yeah.
so much fun.
I
And then
love it.
and then and so we got that and now we're like, okay, so let's time to heal because you gotta be recovered and you gotta know what's your triggers so that they don't get in the way again and to keep you from reaching that goal we just developed and that dream you just developed. And they once they know what's out there and what they're capable of, the motivation is there now. So they're like,
Nice.
okay, the healing, I got it. I can do this. It's I know why I want to do this. It's because of that dream we just came up with, and the willingness is there's less blockage to
Hmm.
to to get in the way of that, and it's really exciting.
Very cool. I love it. And you have an amazing gift for everybody, the Rally Point checklist. Tell us a little bit about that.
The Rally Point checklist is a tool that I use. It's very simple. It's not complicated. It's got the 7 S's in it. It's an S7. It's got. I've asked people to check in on how much their wellness wheel is about themselves. It's all about them. It's not about external things. I look to see is there enough silence? How they do in solitude? What are they doing about stillness? They can get every once in a while just pause and get some stillness in their life. I have them consider their safety, and that means is do they as housing, healthcare, that kind of those are the kind of things. And sweetness is the next one. Do they have that, or is that something missing? Do they have a moment that just like that smile comes in? They can just it's an image, a person, or something that just brings in that sweetness in their life. And
Oh,
strength is another part of the wheel. I help them realize they do have the strength And if it's not there, where can we go to find it again? And if we need to ask for help for it. And the last one is simplicity, and to keep it simple for themselves, and
Right.
take it one by one on each of those spokes, and keeping their wheel of wellness so that they can stay prepared. They can, starting early and build all that trust, and definitely take the time to heal.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for putting that together for our listeners or viewers. That's awesome. And you can go to annagonzalez.org, and that link is right in your email. So go back to the email that you used to get out to this interview. Scroll down past Anna's picture and bio, and click the link, and it'll take you out to opt into her Rally Point checklist. Very, very cool. Thank you so much, Anna. It is always a pleasure to have conversations with you. This was a great interview, and I just really appreciate the work that you're doing in the world, and your book. It's so awesome. So thank you again.
I thank
Selfishly
you so much
second.
for doing this. This is awesome.
No problem. Thanks again. Bye bye.
Bye.